Hello everyone. That was a great opening, a great launch with a lot of energy. And we continue that, showing how agile, how creative, how reflexive, how improvisatory we are, because we have this next session, high-level forum, roundtable discussion, which we're going to condense into 15 minutes just to show the temporality of educators and how we work with time and space. Could I call up, please, the three presenters, Minister Fassi, who I haven't seen for 30 years. We both graduated on the same day and we sat together, and I've been looking at Minister Fassi's face and my big gleaming face, my husband took a photo, for 30 years. And today I see him in person. That's magic. It also tells us about energy and commitment and passion and vision, and to do a PhD together in another country. I'm from Australia and Professor Fassi's from Tonga, and we meet again in Paris, but actually we are doing all sorts of work globally for this global education. And it's my privilege, and I'm seeing that we have Cecilia Barbera with us, and we have Ambassador Omar, so we're ready to go. And I'm going to ask our three amazing, agile, improvisatory speakers to reduce down to four minutes, if they could, their talk, to condense to the essence, because we need to hear from you. We'd like some questions. And even if you don't get time to ask the question, if you can text the question on social media or to me, write it down, and we'll come over here where at the back we'll be interviewing everyone and getting the latest about global education, creative thinking, assessment and visions for change as we go through these next 2 days. So transforming assessment, reshaping assessment so that education systems develop creative thinking differently. So may I ask, please, Minister Fassi, my friend, to the stage.
Right, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the transforming assessment through creative evaluations in Tonga. First of all, I'd like to give you a little bit of a context in Tonga regarding the assessment. At the moment, Tonga's education system is undergoing significant reforms aimed at integrating creative and comprehensive assessment methods aligned with its national curriculum and education policy framework. The curriculum emphasizes bilingual literacy in Tonga, namely Tongan and English, critical thinking and culturally relevant pedagogy to foster holistic student development. Now, the impact of innovative assessment methods. Assessment of learning continue to be at the multiple cognitive levels, from unistructural to extended abstract thinking, encouraging learners to develop relational and transformative knowledge. It requires students to integrate, analyze, and apply knowledge creatively, supporting Tonga's goal to nurture critical and creative thinkers prepared for real-world challenges. Additionally, Tonga uses outcome-based assessment as a key approach that encourages creative thinking by focusing on students' ability to demonstrate what they know and can do in authentic context. The marking and reporting systems complement this by providing meaningful feedback that supports learning growth, and competency-based assessment has always been a pathway to promote mastery of skills and knowledge crucial to student development. Blending internal and external assessments. Tonga's national evaluation system blends 30% internal assessment, which is teacher-led formative assessment such as projects and performance tasks, with 70% external assessment, which is the external examination. This blend encourages creative learning by valuing continuous student effort while measuring the cognitive outcomes consistently. Reshaping learning environments. Creating evaluation methods foster more inclusive, student-centered classrooms where diverse learning styles and cultural identities are respected. Teachers use formative feedback to adapt instruction, making learning interactive, engaging, and culturally meaningful. Students become active participants in their learning journeys, which improves motivation and deeper understanding. The driving educational reform. Tonga's evolving assessment system aligns with strategic reforms aimed at enhancing literacy, teacher capacity, and curriculum relevance. This system promotes a culture of continuous improvement, evidence-based decision-making, professional development, and community involvement. Recognizing diverse learner achievements through creative assessment process broadens access and equity in education outcomes. The integration of technology, innovative initiatives such as the Samsung Soul for Tomorrow have contributed significantly to educational transformation in Tonga. Winners receive technology grants enabling the creation of digitized classrooms in several schools. The initiative is expanding with multiple schools now having digitized classrooms, aiding in the integration of STEM education, problem-solving skills, and 21st century digital literacy. This technology infusion strengthens teacher capacity and learner engagement in line with Tonga's curriculum and assessment reforms. Finally, one last kind of a creative or innovative approach that we are testing at the moment is, since Tonga's education system is bilingual, both English and Tongan official languages, and the language policy states that at secondary school level, all the language of the medium of instruction is English, both in instruction and assessment. Many Tongan students find the English language a barrier to their development, to their educational development, because the English is difficult as a second language. And some of their performance in the examinations and assessment activities are affected by the language, by the medium of instruction, and the language in which the examination or the assessment activities are presented. So I have been testing using both languages in the assessment, even though it is against the policy which we are working to revise. But I believe that we should be assessing the content, the subject matter, instead of assessing language. Because in many cases, students are struggling with the language, even though they know their content and the subject matter. They can't really express them in the English language. So we are testing doing both, even though the language is written, the questions are written in English. We have the teacher there in the classroom during the exam to translate the questions to Tongan and explain it in Tongan so that the students understand. And they can write the answer in whatever language they feel most comfortable in, either in English or in Tongan. Because it's not a test of language, it's a test of subject matter. So as long as they write the correct answer and present the facts, then it's okay, whatever language. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and what an amazing innovation we've just heard. that's culturally appropriate practices. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Ambassador and Permanent Delegation of Indonesia to UNESCO, Muhammad Umar.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by caution you all that I am not an educator and not expert on education. I'm assigned here by my Minister of Education to send the share the Indonesia's experience in this education, especially on the matter of creativity. Let me begin by thank you all for the opportunity to share Indonesia's experience and journey in nurturing the full range of competencies on our learners need to for the future, particularly on creative thinking, which is now more important than ever. As we all know, the future is full of uncertainties and also challenges to that our students will face, be geopolitics, digital disruption, socio-economic challenges that all require more than academic knowledge. They require resilience, collaboration, critical thinking, and above all, creativity. In Indonesia, this understanding has become a key driver of our educational transformation. Let me begin by sharing with you the broader policy context. Over the last few years, Indonesia has undertaken a major curriculum reform through what we call Curriculum Merdeka, or the emancipated learning. At its core, this reform empowers teachers and schools to create learning experiences that are student-centered, contextual, and competence-driven. Under the current administration, the positive values of Merdeka curriculum have been carefully integrated into the new national educational policy. This includes continued emphasis on character education, the development of deep learning policy that emphasizes understanding, critical thinking, and long-term retention. So it goes beyond memorizing facts or surface learning to developing real understanding and applying knowledge in various contexts. It also encompasses the strengthening of the national curriculum and other key initiatives with the Rumah Pendidikan. It is a portal serving as a comprehensive digital platform designed to unify hundreds of previously fragmented educational services into one streamlined portal. The initiative of Rumah Pendidikan, or Education House, that was launched on January 21st this year by the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education of Indonesia, has several objectives. Among others, is a one-stop integration to eliminate the need for multiple logins and fragmented apps. Is a centralized entry point for the existing available services. Second, it's cost-effective to reduce educational tech expenses by over 60% through consolidation. Also, it is inclusive and inclusive access designed for users across the board: teachers, students, parents, government officials, community partners, and public in general. And last is the offline capability. Supports region with poor connectivity by allowing users to download and access content offline. The government also focused on developing a holistic profile of Indonesian students who are not only academically capable, but also curious, creative, collaborative, and committed to ethical and civic values which reflects on 8-dimensional graduate profile. First is spiritual or faith or religiosity, citizenship, critical reasoning, creativity, collaboration, independence, health, and communication. And now on the assessment, we are aware that the traditional method, standardized tests, multiple choice exams, cannot fully capture the richness of creative thinking. And that is why the role of assessment is being redefined in our system. The Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education is encouraging authentic assessment practices such as portfolios, self-assessment, peer reviews, and performance tasks. But of course, this shift is not without challenges. One major challenge is the mindset among educators, parents, and even students who are still accustomed to test-based success. Another challenge is capacity in ensuring that teachers are trained and confident to design and assess creative learning activities. To address this, we are investing heavily in teacher professional development. Thousands of teachers are learning how to integrate project-based learning, creative assessment, and student-led inquiry in their classrooms. In conclusion, Indonesia is on a journey to rethink learning and assessment not as an end in itself, but as tools to help every child reach their full potential. While the road is long, we believe that by creating space for students to explore, express, and imagine, we are laying a solid foundation of a more equitable, adaptable, and creative generation of learners. We still have much to learn, and we therefore welcome global collaboration in this effort. But our commitment is clear that education must not only prepare students to succeed in tests, it must prepare them to shape the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Umar. Very interesting to hear. We all share the frustration of fixed mindsets, and you're working. I loved hearing you say the rethinking of learning and assessment. The two are coupled and interconnected. Learning and assessment and rethinking those interconnections. Thank you so much. It is a great pleasure now to introduce you to Cecilia Barbiri, Chief of Section of Global Citizenship and Peace Education. And you're going to introduce elements of the UNESCO framework. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Pamela, and distinguished co-panelists. So I have very few minutes, so I try to squeeze everything I would like to share with you really in a short time. So from UNESCO perspective, I think it's very exciting, I would say, to see this gathering mostly here in our house, which is a common house, I would say, and address these issues of creativity, which I think is at the very heart also of the vision of UNESCO when it comes to culture and education. And what I would like to share with you is this framework that has been adopted very recently, 1 year ago. Is a framework for culture and arts education, and this is a framework that really places the fostering of creativity at the heart of the work of these two sectors. As you know, UNESCO is the only agency that has a mandate, that has a core mandate that encompasses both culture and education. And for these two sectors, what is also important is to develop, to design, to co-design, of course, with all our member states and all our partners, normative instruments that can guide, right, our common work. So, leading in culture, but also leading in education. UNESCO is at the forefront of this movement of thinking education with partners such as OECD that are here with us today, and also this discourse of transforming education. But transforming means transforming in what, right? And when it comes to education, we have also recently, 2 years ago, our member states adopted a recommendation on education for peace, human rights and sustainable development. I think all the educators here probably are familiar with this. And I'm saying that because this goes to what the purpose of education should be, right? Building peace in the minds of men, which is our property. Now, culture and the arts plays a very fundamental role also in, let's say, the transformational role that education has. And that's why, let's say, bringing these visions of culture and education together and responding to a demand of our member states, we developed this framework. This was actually a framework that somehow built on the arts education or the framework that I am sure many of you know, that were agreed in Lisbon and then in Seoul in the past decades. And it broadens the scope, the idea of, let's say, it broadens because it embeds really culture into education. Culture is really the basis, right, of our education work. So it was a big demand from member states that accompany this work. We work with a lot of actors, educators, cultural professionals, artists, policymakers, of course, government, media, to, let's say, to pull together all these different inputs and come up with a sort of guidance, right, for member states and all of us, all the actors involved in culture and education, to try and advance this vision of how culture and arts contribute and creativity at the center contribute to also improving quality learning. So the framework has the guiding principle, and there are actually a few that I just would like to highlight. And one is the promotion of inclusion and non-discrimination. So it means making culture and arts education accessible really to all. And it means, of course, removing barriers and also promoting diversity and equity, and just also to, I think, reiterate some of the concepts and principles that we heard from the previous panels. This also means adopting a broad understanding of culture, which of course encompasses not only the arts, but also indigenous knowledge system, living cultural heritage, diversity of cultural expression, etc. And of course the creative economy. The second important principle is the co-creation. So it means that policies and programs should be co-created with learners, with educators, with cultural professionals, with the traditional learners, with communities, so that they also reflect the local reality and aspirations of our people. And that means, of course, an active participation of cultural spaces and also actors across all different types of education, so formal, non-formal, and informal. And another third equally important principle is that rather than simply adding cultural elements to curricula, the framework called for the systematic integration of culture and arts across all educational activities, adopting this principle of lifelong and life-wide learning, because learning happens across life and in all our spaces. This framework has a few key strategic goals. Of course, creativity and critical engagement is one of them. Equitable access is another one. Contextual learning, as I heard from the previous also speaker. So adapting curriculum, pedagogy and assessment to reflect also local cultural languages and indigenous knowledge system, and of course the institutionalization of cultural and arts education. Now, when it comes now to end to the issue of assessment, I think, which is the core of the reflection today. First of all, I think I'm sure we will hear more about that, but I think I just want to somehow reiterate some of the words that I heard earlier, the purpose of assessment and the importance of formative assessments. So the recommendation on education for peace and human rights and sustainable development also have a very specific part on assessment and look at the importance to the methods that you utilize to assess. They should be prioritized to strengthen in particular collaboration, cooperation, and mutual understanding. And therefore it means supporting learners' continuous and holistic development. So I think that's very important to keep in mind. There are three, I think, levels, the three changes that are important when it comes to assessment. One is related to policy, the policy level, what we would like to see. So expanding, of course, assessment to include transversal skills, and I think there are a lot of advancements and progress in many countries in doing that. So it includes skills such as creativity, critical thinking, cultural awareness, right, and of course the social and emotional competencies. And of course that also means that we need more diversified approaches in terms of the methodology, the modality we use, from portfolio to project works to integration of cultural practices, integration of living heritage, for example, into the curriculum and therefore in the assessment. And also at the level of mindset, and I would like also to concur with the Honorable Ambassador, and because assessment is also a part of our learning journey, of everyone's learning journey. So the importance of this formative component, I think it's quite critical. So I think this is really the direction of the framework. And I think for us, it's the network that you have just launched and the contribution and the inputs of all these practitioners that also here are very important, because one thing that we have been asked to do by all our member states is also to ensure that there is a broad sharing of practices, because there are excellent and interesting innovation when it comes to activity and culture and the arts in our countries. And it's very important, this sort of exchanges and mutual learning. So I think I will take a minute. Thank you so much.
We're going to take a couple of questions, because this is about discussion and we want to hear diverse voices and be inclusive. But we're really, in essence, just heard three very committed and innovative ideas around language and culture and heritage that underpin and enact all creativity. They are there, they are present in all forms of creativity and in education. So this mention of transversal skills, also very exciting to hear. Just marking at the moment a PhD on transversal creativity. So there's new seeds of ideas rising. Do we have a question, a comment from the floor? So you have a microphone. Can we take yours, the lady and then 1, 2, for equity? Anyone from this side? Equity, come on, be brave, wonderful. So 1, 2, 3, 4, then we break for a break. Thank you. Please say your name and affiliation. Mike, there we go.
From Patricio Pauletti Foundation and the Research Institute for Neuroscience Education and Tactics. First of all, I salute all the talks and I agree with all the importance of these topics. In addition to closer. Okay. So, in addition to all the wonderful things that you've been talking about in changing mindsets and creativity, critical thinking, and cultural awareness, I would suggest also self-awareness as an important topic. And here enters also the subject of contemplative neuroscience, because we know the different types of sports and meditation can greatly increase creativity and cognitive flexibility, change mindsets and so on, and be important also for promotion of peace.
Fantastic. Could we take all questions and then ask the panel to show your brilliance and bring all those questions together in one succinct answer? Thank you. The mention of neuroscience is great to hear. Thanks for that inclusion. There was a second question, please.
My name is Tigran Nipoyan. I work with UNESCO IIT. as health education advisor for Central Asia and Eastern Europe. And I can't help saying, working with UNESCO on health education promotion, that this provides a tremendous opportunity to develop, along with different life skills, social and emotional skills, creativity among learners. Sometimes it is really challenging to do it through specific subjects, and the whole school should be creative school, a school which kind of promotes creativity in their education, but also some specific interventions, some specific curricular approaches embedded in health, well-being, life skills education can also help.
Wonderful contribution, thank you so much. The mention of a whole school approach, it's not just the individual, and that it's a learning community, and that health and well-being is everything. Without that, learning is very difficult to achieve. Thank you so much. I think there was 2 on this side, and we had 2 on this side, and then a response from the panel, please. The 2 on this side. Wonderful, please, 1, 2. Thank you. Lady in the yes, please.
Lisa Maria from the Chartered College of Teaching. Thank you very much for your thought-provoking contributions. I was wondering whether you have a proposal on how we can address the challenge of encouraging creativity through more creative approaches to teaching and assessment, on the other hand, whilst at the same time stifling arguably students' creativity with standardised summative assessments on the other, without confusing them and sending them confusing messages about what is an appropriate answer in a standardised assessment. Thank you.
Brilliant question, and it troubles and teachers and head teachers, keeps you awake at night, actually. The most creative children are going to be, not always compliant, and who's to say what's right? Who is to say the best answer? Who is to say it's wrong? Great question. You've got your challenges up here. The last question, number 4, a quartet. To write a book, you should get together, all 4 of you. There was one more question, please. Please, I'm sorry I don't know your name.
That's okay, it's Karen. Karen Darnley from the Arts Council of Wales. Brilliant question, that's just everyone, absolutely basic. My thing is really about how you're using the expertise and provocation within your arts and cultural sectors within your countries, to feed into this. I do sort of co-construction, co-creation to just see about what ideas might be there from the sector that could support all these changes in assessment within education. I want to see a trip there as a more that could be done, and if it's happening, can we hear about it, because that would be really useful in our context.
So how does assessment align with the multiple policy changes and expectations and requirements of teaching and teachers and of being a learner in 2024? Great questions. So could we have a response from each of the panelists? Thank you so much, and thanks for waiting. We will have a 15-minute break shortly. Who wants to go first? Thank you.
Right, thank you. I will respond to the second question about the health and well-being. In Tonga, we are having pilot programs on whole school approach to health. They are called health promotion schools, and they do everything from nutrition to activities to lifestyles. They are encouraged to plant their own vegetable gardens around the school areas, and pupils are taught the importance of vegetables and their diet and their nutrition. They are also encouraged for healthy living, like washing their hands before eating and washing their hands before everything else. I think it was after the onslaught of COVID-19 that the washing hands was really emphasized in schools as a means of preventing the spread of COVID. So yes, we do have programs. It's currently being piloted in selected schools, but it will be nationally implemented once the pilot phase is completed. So we are hoping to have whole school approach for all schools in Tonga. And of course, the parents in the homes are also included, because there is no point in doing it in schools, and once they go back home, they don't practice it anymore. So parents are encouraged to join the activities in the schools and to support and assist the students in their activities. Okay. Right, with the third question about the appropriate, culturally appropriate answers, one of my favorite situations is testing, trying to assess students whether they can climb a coconut tree. Because in Tonga, as in many Pacific islands, young men are expected to be able to climb coconut trees, because water bottles are very recent inventions. But in the islands, if they go to their plantations or to their farms, there are no water supplies there. They don't carry water bottles, but they have a plentiful supply of coconut trees. So they are expected to be able to climb coconut trees to get coconuts to drink in the farms. One of the questions that teachers used to ask people is, how do you climb a coconut tree? And some of the popular questions in the exams is to write an essay on how to climb a coconut tree. So pupils can write a very good essay on how to climb a coconut tree. You know, you first go to the coconut, you put your foot here and your hand there, pull and push it. But will it tell you whether the pupil can climb a coconut tree? So the best way is to take the students to the farm or to a coconut tree and ask them to climb. That way they can be assessed for their technique, their speed, and how many coconuts they can get out of the tree. So it's a question of relevance. And in other areas, there is no one single marker. There is a team of markers who get together and decide on the correct answers for the questions. We also have the, I mentioned earlier, 30% internal assessment, where students are given project and they are assessed on a daily basis on their progress, how they go about with the projects. Not only the end product, but the process of actually carrying out the project.
Thank you so much for that story. Climbing coconut trees. The whole ambience of this room changed as you told us that story. We were all climbing coconut trees. I think that's, yes, we need a test in climbing coconut trees. There's multiple ways that have to be for us all to do this. Thank you. And finally, if we can call on Ambassador Mark.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I actually would dare to take any of the question. It is quite technical and kind of expert level questions. But basically, I don't use as an input. Let me just take this opportunity to share that the biggest challenge that Indonesia is facing is increasing or keeping with the quality of the teachers as well as students and schools across the country is the inequality or disparity. If you can imagine how the Ministry of Education, which is in Java, in Jakarta, has to really ensure hundreds of thousands of schools across 70,000 islands. And across also the web of network of local governments. That is the biggest challenge. And the biggest opportunity actually is making use and benefit from the technological innovation. So there is actually the opportunity to meet more first creativity in the creation of the technology, the platforms that can really help teachers, schools across the countries, across those biggest articulate in the world, to really have the same quality of connectivity, and then can also enjoy at the same time the same level of quality of material or training or whatever the government policy is trying to achieve across the country. And in addition to this, innovative technology is surely international cooperation, not only G2G but across different stakeholders. We do invite and welcome all kind of cooperation in that regards, and also most importantly to this forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our amazing panelists who have given us a lot of food for thought, and for our panel people, our discursive and provocateur people that were asking those questions and raising questions from their own experience. Share your experiences, share your cultural meanings and ways of thinking about assessment. And now we have a break. 11:40 to 11:55. Now go climb those coconut trees. Thank you.